Hi. It's been a minute. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I don't really know how to talk about this. That makes it sound like it's far more serious than it is. It's really not. It's not even remotely serious. I just... Hold on. I'm trying to do up the ducks while I do this video. And it is not that easy with only one hand. Okay. So I want to talk RWBY discourse. This is some of the stupidest stuff I see usually. Like, okay, there's disagreements and then there's discourse. Those are two very different things. And oftentimes there is a lot of discourse, which is unfortunate. Because really, we're just here to watch a show about a bunch of mentally repressed individuals trying to fight an unstoppable evil. And while it's not the perfect show, obviously, there isn't such thing as a perfect show. At all. It's just annoying the way that people talk about the show. When they talk about it, it makes it seem like they have never watched it a day in their life. Like, okay. There's criticism in that you don't like how something played out. That's fine. We all have criticisms of anything that we like. And me personally, I heavily criticize Blake's treatment in volumes 4 and 5. I felt like her story was put on the back burner when it really didn't need to be. And it's even worse that I think that volume, those 2 volumes and their story were incredibly important to Blake's story, and she seems to be on the back burner for them in comparison to everything else that's happening. And I get it to some extent. Because ultimately the White Fang is secondary to Salem. Makes sense. But I think there should have been more focus. I criticize that aura and semblances aren't just well-known, commonplace knowledge. That feels incredibly dumb. I understand that as well. However, because they needed exposition back in Volume 1. And Jean at the time was the surrogate audience member by being the clueless one. I get it. Of course, that does bring me to my third criticism, which is that the Watts death in Volume 8's finale, I think, doesn't work. I think that there were an infinite number of ways to do anything other than that, and they should have done one of those, in my opinion. I've been very vocal about that over on the Mike and Marty YouTube account. Not YouTube account, Mike and Marty Twitter account. I am not making a YouTube account for Mike and Marty. But I don't actually have really... I also understand why they did that, but the reason that they did that could still be handled without killing him. So, yeah, I just think that the Watts death is dumb. Like I said, I have my criticisms. The discourse comes from people putting an expectation and then being mad when that expectation isn't hit. So, especially if it's like a wild one. Like the people who say, like, oh, RWBY was supposed to be the next Avatar. According to who? According to who? Who said that it was supposed to be the next Avatar? Maybe you did. I actually don't know if that was a thing that was said, but I kind of doubt it. RWBY takes inspiration from a lot of things, and the majority of its characters are allusions to pre-existing concepts. But that's not... That's not really enough to say that it was supposed to be the next anything. It just exists. I'm doing this off the cuff. So this is just, yeah. So like, I'll see so many people bounce something out that they didn't like, and did they watch? Did they watch what happened? Did they watch? Is always the question whenever it's something that they say that is just utterly nonsensical. Like this probably is the reason that I started doing this video, is this one that I just saw on Twitter, where someone mentioned a comment about Volume 7 from a while back, about Yang telling Robin about Amity during Volume 7. And their comment was something along the lines of, Yang teamed up with someone that tried to kill Crow. And it's like, Robin never tried to kill Crow. I don't know where you got that information, but if you watched the show at all and paid even the slightest amount of attention, you know that that is objectively not what happened. And there's been this like thing recently of like, there is an objectivity in art, and while RWBY is art, there is objectivity in franchises. Like, there is. If a franchise establishes this is canon, then that is the canon. So, objectively, Robin never tried to kill Crow before or after that moment. Ever. That's not a thing that happened. I don't remember who originally said that, and I don't remember why, but they're wrong. And it's always just stuff that's just stupid comments that would just work better if you simply rewatched. And that's kind of a commentary on myself, because for me, I don't remember anything from when I first watched Volume 5. There are like a few things I remember, like Yang and Weiss reuniting, because I totally called that they would be the first two of Team RWBY to reunite. Raven being revealed as the Spring Maiden, or All Things Must Die, which is a weird one because I normally don't remember RWBY songs. I don't remember anything that happened. I don't remember my reactions to stuff. I didn't remember. Just partially because the volume is fairly uneventful. It's one of the lower quality volumes. It's good overall, but 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 are all better. It's above 1 and 2 at least. It's above 1 and 2. But I rewatched the show, refreshed my memory, and liked everything a lot more now that I rewatched, refreshed my mind of what all the content and context was. Like, oh, okay, yeah, things make a lot more sense now. Okay, yeah, okay. But this is a good segue into another point, is like the whole take of like RWBY went down in quality after Volume 3. I'm like, did it though? Volume 4 was phenomenal. Volume 4 was great. Not better than 3, certainly. But I'm sorry to say, but 1 and 2 are not peak RWBY content. I used to think so until, again, rewatched and kind of came to the conclusion of the show really starts out rough. The show starts out pretty rough. show is pretty rough at the beginning, and it gets better. I would say it only goes uphill. That's not true. There's 1 is good enough to get me interested. 2, good enough to keep me there. 3, great. 4, when it existed, 3 was the best. And it was the best for a while. For a long while. 4 was good, not as good. 5 was absolutely a drop in quality. I don't fully blame the show for that, though, given production reasons that came into effect. 6, good. Somewhere along the lines of 4. Better than 4? Maybe? Yeah, I'd say better than 4. Still not as good as 3. Me personally, I think 7 and 8 topped 3 by far. Those are my favorite 2 volumes. 8 a little bit more, aside from that Watts finale. Again. But I'm sorry to say, peak RWBY is not where a lot of the discourse causers think that it is. And I know that's me kind of shoving my opinion onto someone else. That's not the intention. But, I don't know. I highly recommend to the people who watch and your criticisms are just you misunderstanding something, highly recommend doing a rewatch. I mean, I highly recommend rewatching regardless, because, I mean, yeah. But I think you'll find that your criticisms, if they're just kind of pulled out of nowhere, I think you'll find that criticisms don't work as well as you probably think that they do. If you do a rewatch and realize that the context for almost anything you can criticize in a non-criticism way is explained. I feel like there's only a few things here and there where there isn't that. Like, there's not really an in-universe reason that semblances in aura wouldn't be common knowledge. Not everyone has one, but if you think about it, people can be born with their semblances unlocked, and so if you are a family that doesn't know what semblances are, and your baby comes out with their skin made of rock, you're gonna have some rough time. So I don't get how that works in universe. I don't get why Blake is like 2 weeks behind in universe. I get why Watts died in universe. I just think that there were better decisions. If you fit into the thing I described of like the Yang teamed up with someone that tried to kill Crow, which is objectively incorrect and not what happened. Rewatch. Then again, if you are someone who's saying that, you probably don't realize you're saying that. You probably genuinely think something like that is true when it's not. Oh, God. Honestly. I think everyone should just rewatch it anyway. And I mean, if you aren't doing a rewatch between volumes anyway, what are you doing? Probably making the better decision of watching other things that exist, which is not what I do. It's not true. I've been watching some of the Marvel shows. But still, primarily RWBY. I'm on a rewatch right now. Rewatch, but rewatch through watching someone react. So I'm going at their pace, because I don't think that I could do it again the way that I normally do, which is in bulk, of going through the entirety of RWBY in a couple days. I can't do that again, especially not with the way that Volume 8 makes me feel. I can't do that again. So, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm doing this video. I still have no purpose in doing this video. I just wanted to do a RWBY video. Or just a video in general, as well. But there's just so much that happens like that I see a lot. And I don't interact with it as much as I used to. Like last year, I just kept interacting with it, and it was awful. But I've stopped interacting with it. I just can't, every time that I see something that really doesn't make sense, I just kind of go, probably need to rewatch the scene. Or maybe you weren't paying attention. Maybe you didn't see it at all. I don't know. Hush. Hush. I am trying to record. Hush. Anyway, assuming you can hear me over that, I've been ignoring it. I've been ignoring it, and this is kind of my, like, indirect response to it. Of just, yeah, just my indirect response to all the discourse is just, I guess the more proper way to word this would be like, if you find yourself being like the main, like, if you often find yourself in the position of getting a lot of flack for RWBY takes, probably worth rewatching and seeing if the other side has a point. Right? Right. At least in my mind, anyway. I don't know. I think the discourse is almost always dumb. I think it's almost always stupid. Because it always stems from either, like, it always stems from just a really, really bad comment. Whether it's just someone blatantly not paying attention to the show and commenting on it, or trying to say something stupid about, like, oh, this isn't Monty's vision, as if anyone's gonna know Monty's vision better than A, Monty himself, or B, Miles and Carrie, who have been there since the beginning. Right? So, it's almost always just a really, really bad time when someone starts discourse, whether it be that they intend to do it through making like a Monty comment, or whether they don't intend to do it and it's just them being dumb and not admitting it. I don't know. If you get into an argument like that, probably worth looking back at the context of whatever the argument's about and seeing if it's right or wrong. Seeing who's in the right or wrong about it. And if there isn't a right or wrong and it's up to interpretation, like in Volume 8, not Volume 8, Volume 7, was it right or wrong to not tell Ironwood about what Jin told them? Is that right or wrong? That's up to interpretation. The show even is iffy on whether that's right or wrong. It's a conversation to be had. And it's worth debating. Even though, in my opinion, the real point is that they at least made a decision, which is more than you can say for Jimmy. More than you can say for Jimmy. But it is different from just, oh, I'm not a fan of Cinder or something like that. I'm not a fan of Cinder. I've been very vocal about that lately as well. I'm not a fan of Cinder versus... I'm trying to think of an example that isn't one I've already said. I'm not a fan of Cinder versus Cinder has no development. One of those is an opinion. One of those is wrong. I'm not a fan of Cinder is an opinion, and I'm not a fan of Cinder. Cinder has no development is wrong. And I'm saying that as someone who doesn't like Cinder. She does have development. I just don't care about the character. Certainly not my least favorite. That's Harriet. It's Harriet and Jacques. And then Cinder. She's not much higher. I don't know. This has been going on for 22 minutes. I managed to make a rant last almost half an hour. A rant for no reason. Maybe I'll do this more often. I don't know. Talk. I might do little things like this for like my theories going into Volume 9. I've got a few of those. I want to discuss and talk about and see what other people think about them. One of which is a theory on how Watts could still be alive, because I don't like the death. I don't like the Watts death scene. So anything I can do to argue that he's alive and they didn't just kill off their best villain for no reason. There is a reason. I'm being facetious. I just don't think that they needed to go that way about it in comparison to other ways they could have handled it. I have a theory on how Watts could still be alive. That's all I'm going to say. But I want to focus on other theories before I do that one, because that one's just kind of a I want Watts to still be alive because I don't like his death. And he's my favorite villain, so I'm biased, and I don't like how it was handled. So, we'll get there. But, yep. Just a half hour pointless, like, one-sided discussion on RWBY Discourse that I really didn't need to make, but I did anyway. And because I don't normally talk for this long, much at all, to be honest, but because I don't normally talk for this long, my throat's starting to hurt, so I'm going to sign the video off here. God, the comments, assuming that there are any, comments might not be good, because a lot of the time they aren't. A lot of the time that's where the discourse comes from. So, I might do one tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, I guess. Algorithm stuff. Yeah, and maybe I'll do another walking around RWBY theory vlog tomorrow. We'll see. Bye-bye.